It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It's Friday, and that makes it a good thing. Man, does it ever. Friday is good. And we welcome all of you into the beautiful Fordyce Center out in Bellevue, where they got a big tournament going on, one of the biggest of most of these tournaments are during the weekend. But there are also a group of Tennessee State University students who have gone through a week of sort of a crash Smashville course. They've seen the inner workings of Bridgestone Arena, all the way down to the food services, all the different stuff that go on around an event in the arena. And today, they're out here learning about how the Fordyce Center operates. So there's a lot going on out here today. Big crowd that I'm looking at. You all can't see it, but suffice it to say, a lot of people here. Kelly Holcomb is not one of those folks. Excuse me, got a little, same stuff as a lot of y'all have. Billy, how you doing?
I'm good, George. How are you?
Good. Good. What's going on?
Not much. We got a packed house here at the Fordyce Center today. Lot going on. First time I had to park in the opposite parking lot today.
Yeah, how about that?
Packed house today.
Yeah.
But George, we've got some final news on Alabama. All the I's have to be dotted, the T's have to be crossed. But it sounds like Alabama has found their replacement for Nick Saban in Washington's Kalen DeBoer. Obviously, we saw Mike Norvell in the mix early on. We saw a little bit of Steve Sarkisian, but they ended up this morning confirming their commitment to their schools, and they kind of re-upped their contracts.
Yeah.
Apparently, with Kalen DeBoer, they were going to double his base salary of $4.2 million, and basically bump it up to $8 million. Apparently, Alabama went a little bit deeper in the pockets there, and but
they need NIL money.
Yeah, they still need that NIL
exactly.
money.
How does that work?
Yeah, so we'll see.
I'll be interested in what the reaction is, because the truth of it is he has risen up the college football boards like in meteoric fashion.
Yeah.
Most of you 3 years ago had never heard of him. Fresno State, then Washington, now Alabama.
Yeah.
Is he a good fit? I have no idea. He certainly doesn't have the Southern pedigree going in.
No, he doesn't. People are talking a lot about Dan Lanning, of course, at Oregon. He was kind of one of the first calls, at least for Alabama. He ended up staying with Oregon. But even he, George, is not from the South. So I think it's going to be tough to
right,
find.
But he did have Southern connections.
Yes. Originally
with Georgia, where Herschel Walker attended.
In Georgia and Auburn. But no, Georgia, I think this would be a great hire. For Washington, they're losing Penix. They had Roma Dunze. All those receivers are gone, so it feels like a good time. And Washington's not necessarily a power. I mean, they've been one of the best.
They've had
in the
moments
Pac-12.
under Don James, but since then, it's been very scattered.
Yeah.
This guy basically saying, okay, this is the pinnacle of college football. You do wonder if Norvell and Lanning end up going, damn, I was offered the Alabama job and I gave it no thought.
Yeah.
I don't totally know why Alabama was in such a hurry. But I don't know all the recruiting schedules, and frankly, don't really care.
Yeah, well, for Oregon, in Texas where Sark is, and even Florida State, Nick Saban not being at Alabama makes it a lot easier for them now. So their job, without Saban at Alabama, just got a lot easier.
No, it's Auburn. If you roll down your window and you hear cheering, it's coming from the plains,
from Toomer's Corner.
It is.
Yeah, so
probably from Hugh Freeze's house too.
We've also got NFL news. The Patriots announced today they've hired Jerod Mayo as Bill Belichick's successor and the 15th coach in franchise history. He'll be announced on Wednesday as the head coach. He's the youngest coach. He'll be the youngest coach in the NFL, taking over a title that Sean McVay held. So he'll be the youngest coach in the NFL. Played at Tennessee, played under Belichick. Played, coached with Belichick as the linebackers coach, and he was their DC this year. Apparently, it was in the contract that he's the successor to Belichick.
So, I wonder if Mike Vrabel knew that.
You gotta wonder.
I've got to think in NFL circles, maybe he did. Schefter was so positive yesterday that it was Mayo. That tells me he had been tipped off to the look, this is how it's going down.
Right.
Because he was absolutely positive. He threw Vrabel in as almost kind of an afterthought. And that's when I said, okay, what Jason McCourty's been telling me is spot on.
Yeah, and you wonder why there was so much buzz about Vrabel. I mean, I don't know if did Kraft forget about this clause in the
Listen, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Kraft forgot it.
I mean, surely not, but there was a lot of buzz for Vrabel.
Sure there was. And Vrabel's a very popular figure in the New England area.
Yeah.
And
you wonder if he joins the staff potentially. Because now if you're Vrabel,
I think
where's the best landing spot for him now?
I think he's got to find out first, can I be a head coach?
Right.
Because I would think, for instance, Washington, man, they've got to look at Vrabel and or Belichick as major upgrades.
Oh, yeah.
We just don't know at this point.
These coaching searches in the NFL are
crazy. Absolutely crazy. I guess in wondering about the NFL's Rooney Rule, first of all, Jerod Mayo is African-American.
Yeah.
Went to the University of Tennessee, played there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what else. I wonder if reporting this to the NFL contractually eliminated their need to go through the Rooney Rule, because if you think about it, Kraft made the comment early on yesterday that we're not going to talk about the future now, we'll do it later. Well, that probably was him saying, I'm not giving out that it's already a done deal.
Right. Yeah, it's just interesting. There was all that buzz for Vrabel, and then boom, here's Mayo just kind of sitting there waiting.
Wonder how he feels about that.
That's a good question.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, and for the Titans, they did interview Ryan Callahan today from
Brian Callahan
from Cincinnati, and Antonio Pierce, I would guess, is coming in for an interview today as well. So,
although I wonder why Mark Davis, given that the Titans have sort of forced his hand a little bit, if Mark Davis was going to hire Antonio Pierce,
he wouldn't have even been on this,
which he should.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't this have already happened?
And why wouldn't that request by the Titans have been denied?
Or, yeah, you can interview him, but we're going to hire him first.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Look,
we do have
my head's spinning. This is one of the 4 or 5 craziest weeks in over 30 years of doing this for a living in whatever format I've done it. This is one of the 4 or 5 craziest weeks I've ever dealt with. The hardest in the 30-plus years was 9/11. 9/11 week was brutal because it just didn't feel right to be talking sports at all.
Yeah. Somebody on YouTube says Vrabel takes a year off. I bet. I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd count that out. But
that.
I don't know. That's a year. That's a long.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
In football, it feels like a long time.
Yeah. Still got the Chargers out there. Is there a playoff team that?
Given the fact that he's being paid, I don't think we have to do like a telethon for him.
No. I mean, he's still being paid for another year by the Titans, so I think he's doing okay. We do have games this weekend, George. Super Wild Card Weekend starts tomorrow. Browns-Texans at 3:30. Dolphins-Chiefs in -2-degree weather up there in Kansas City. So that'll be fun for everybody in attendance there. Wonder what the crowd will look like.
Let me say something here. Okay, this is where the NFL, and I get that they value their TV partners. Their TV partners are paying them a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm told that because of the weather predictions in Kansas City, and we're talking about 0 or below, and 30-mile-per-hour winds, which takes your wind chill to a dangerously cold place.
-30.
Yeah, now think about this, okay? You've got Houston in a dome playing during the day, in Kansas City playing at night. Okay, I get the fact that KC Miami feels like a better marquee game.
Mm-hmm.
Although if it's played in those conditions, it won't be. Not likely to be.
No.
Number one, should they consider postponing the game a day or two? Or moving it to a day game and then pushing the Texans to a nighttime game in the Dome.
That would seem logical.
I mean, look, it's the NFL giving the middle finger to the fan.
Yeah.
They don't give a damn about the fans because the fans are not the cash cow. TV network is.
Yeah. Well, it's snowing in Kansas City right now, and say they played it midday tomorrow in Kansas City, it would be about 5 degrees. So instead of -2, you're getting 5 degrees.
Yeah.
That's a little bit. That's a difference.
Not much.
Not much.
Not much.
So,
you ever sat out for 4 hours in 5-degree weather?
No. What's the coldest game you've ever been at?
I would say it was the Titans playoff game 2 years ago.
Oh, against Cincinnati?
Man.
Try KC. Supposed to on Monday. I mean, we're supposed to get some snow.
Yeah, in fact, I'm looking over here right now to kind of see what one of the local stations is predicting.
But I heard up to maybe 5 inches of snow on Monday. So
all the kiddos who want Monday off,
no school.
That's
and it's supposed to be really cold Tuesday and Wednesday too. So it's not going anywhere. So buckle up, everybody.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah. We've also got Sunday, George, Steelers and Bills. That's a midday start.
And just as bad, apparently.
In Buffalo. It'll be bad in the 20s, probably snowing.
Oh, my God, that's balmy up there.
In Buffalo. And then you do have an indoor game at 3:30, Packers-Cowboys. Cowboys heavy favorites there. And then Rams-Lions, Sunday night.
Indoor.
The game I'm most excited about. And then Eagles-Buccaneers, Monday night.
So let me ask you this. Do you think I'm right that the NFL by now should have considered other options on the Kansas City thing?
Yeah, I mean, play it at noon. Get everybody out of there by 3 o'clock, and they can, go sit by the fireplace and stay warm.
I mean, I get the fact that this is on NBC's watch.
Yeah.
The 3:30 game is on NBC, and then they go with this Peacock crap where,
Well, it's not even prime time if it's on Peacock. I mean, it's not like it's on NBC.
No, it's on Peacock. You've got to subscribe to whatever.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well,
this is a playoff game.
Yeah, it's NBC trying to force you to buy Peacock to see it. And my retaliation to it is, you know what? Screw it.
You can shut it.
And in particular, if it ends up like 9-3 in a snowdrift,
you're going to see some knockdown dragouts, especially in Buffalo and in Kansas City. George, you've also got some MLB news. The Braves have agreed to a multi-year contract extension with general manager Alex Anthopoulos.
Atta baby.
That'll keep him with the club through 2031.
That's a long extension.
That's the biggest, latest extension the Braves have thrown out. Their GM, and he's the guy running the show. They also signed Max Fried to a 1-year, $15 million contract. So Fried is
that's an arbitration. Is that arbitration?
I think I did see that. All I saw is just they signed him to a 1-year deal.
Okay, that does not stop him from free agency.
I wouldn't think so, no.
Which is what we need.
What you need. Also tonight, Preds Stars in Dallas, 7 o'clock puck drop. So Preds need a win.
Well, they've gotten 2 road wins in the last 3 weeks or so that have been past their pay grade of years gone by. At Carolina, at Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also had a couple of stinkers at home. We're going to talk with Mark McGee about all this later when he joins us at 3 o'clock. I now have the go-ahead from Mark Griffin, who had earlier sent me my computer died, waiting on it to charge enough to turn on, hang tight, and then he says, we'll be good to go.
We're good.
Okay.
We got Griff.
We'll talk with Griff after the break and get into some good college basketball stuff. Big weekend on that front as well. Stick around. This is the George Plaster Show.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hardworking team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. We're back. The computer-charged Mark Griffin is in the on-deck circle, former University of Tennessee basketball star, with us here on the show, as is the case every Friday. How are you?
Great, George. A little nervous there up front. I know you've gone through this before yourself with a few hiccups, but glad to be on the air.
Yes, we're glad you are on the air. Thank you. So you want to start SEC net rankings?
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's see what you have put together here.
Well, Billy put it together in the graphics, so thanks, Billy.
You got it.
But what I wanted to point out, George, and I'd love for you to jump in as well, is with the net ranking, this is kind of like what I know we're going into this weekly, but it is really something not to overlook, because it is what coaches, administrators are looking at, a lot of fans, kind of the playbook for the postseason. And I give the analogy, George, like teachers in school teaching to the test at the end of the year. It's the same thing with basketball players, our teams playing for the mercy of the NCAA committee for the end of the season. And the magic number, obviously want to be top 68 to make the field. It doesn't mean that if you're within 68 in the net ranking, you're going to make the field, but it gives a really good, barometer of where the teams are. And especially when it comes to playing top opponents on the road, for a quad one win on the road is rankings 1 to 75. So if you look at a Georgia game for UT on Saturday, you see that they're ranked 82nd. So right now, that would be a quad 2 win for UT at this point, unless Georgia went on a roll later on and Tennessee was to win, then it still can become a quad 1 because it's a fluid number moving forward, just to help with quad 1 wins for the committee. Hope that makes sense.
So let me ask you this, Mark. Are you more into this stuff or your own personal eye test?
I think it's a combination. Good example is, you look at Texas A&M. They're a 27 on the net. And I look at their record, they're 9-6. And I'm thinking, well, how can this team make the tournament? And it's early, mind you. I mean, we're very early, probably mid-season. But it's still, I think it's a combination. Eye test, A&M doesn't look as good. I mean, you get the ball out of Wade Taylor's hands, and they've looked really bad. And he especially played bad the last game. That's why I think their game against Kentucky at home this weekend is going to mean a lot. And then if they were to somehow upset Kentucky, then their net ranking would move up. But what I also learned on the net ranking too, George, is you can take a loss and it doesn't really affect your net ranking in a bad manner significantly. For example, Tennessee had a loss at Mississippi State, which was a quad 1 opportunity, but they lost. Tennessee only went down from a 5 to a 6 in the net rankings. So you would, as a fan, eye test, I would think, wow, they're going to drop significantly. Like in the AP top 25, they'll drop several, places. But when it comes to net, they're just dropping 1. You look at an Auburn which Auburn last week was ranked 15th. They had a good week, and they move up 8 spots, and that's hard to do in 1 week in the top, 20 of the net rankings. So based on an algorithm, it's going to be hard to totally understand the reasons why. But it is the best thing that the committee and for a lot of fans and especially coaches that are watching this pretty much a lot.
Here's just an eye test thought. I saw Alabama here last weekend, and to be honest, they didn't just wow me into saying, oh, that's the best team in the SEC. In fact, what I saw, far from it. What I had seen earlier in the day was Kentucky in a really gutsy road win at Florida. A lot of people that day would not have beaten the Gators in Gainesville. That place was really juiced up.
Yeah.
And Kentucky survived a couple of real haymaker punches in that game where they got down 8-10 a couple of different times to win. My eye test right now says Kentucky's better than Bama.
No doubt. I mean, I think if you were to look at the top rated teams moving forward outside of the net ranking, but if we did an eye test, you'd have to put Kentucky number 1 in the SEC, I think. And then, Auburn would be up there maybe ahead of Tennessee right now based on performance this week. Neck and neck, but I think those top 3 stand out, and they do in the rankings as well with the AP. It's just Alabama's had one heck of a schedule, and I think that's what helped because they're playing a lot of higher ranked teams, and that's just what the computer spit out right now. But what's neat about this, George, is this is going to be a moving target. Each week we can take a look and break this down. I think we talked about, I know last week we talked about how many teams we thought we would get in the NCAA tournament. And we were, really big on 9 or maybe 8. And I'm trying to whittle that down a little bit now because of what's happened in the last week. And this may go back up to 9, but I can tell you right now, and I'll stick with this. I don't see the SEC getting 9 teams, 8 teams at best. I don't see a team like Florida, as well as they looked, or a South Carolina. Pretty much Florida is the one that I would rule out. I would probably rule in more of Ole Miss than I would Florida right now. And then the others that you have listed 1 through 7 in the tournament, even at Texas A&M with their record. Big game tomorrow against Kentucky. It's going to be a great matchup. I can't wait to see these 2 teams play and see what Kentucky does with Wade Taylor. I just have a prediction that Calipari is going to make sure that he runs several guards at Wade Taylor, that they try to wear him out. And if they're successful, then I think Kentucky could win by a large margin.
So as I look at this thing, something that struck me a couple of days ago, LSU has over the years shown the ability to get to a Final Four. When they're at their best, they are capable of getting to a Final Four. They have done so, I want to say, either 2 or 3 times over the last 30, 35 years.
Ricky Blanton, sure.
Yeah, but when they go south and they're not very good, all of a sudden the Assembly Center, the Maravich Assembly Center, becomes the tomb of the unknown basketball player. They didn't have 4,000 in there a couple of nights ago.
No, you're right. And I see that LSU, Missouri, and Vanderbilt will battle for what we call the play-in night in Nashville for the SEC tournament, which you have, your 4 teams play the first night, which you get tickets for $1. And I know you'll be in line for that, George.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll be with you. But that's going to be obvious. I feel that LSU is going to be at the bottom of the barrel towards the end of the season based on how they're faring so far.
What is going on at Arkansas?
Oh, I mean, 2 weeks ago, we talked about biggest disappointment in the SEC. I picked Arkansas. I think you were all over that one as well. I don't understand it. And I know Coach Musselman a little bit, and I bet he's not sleeping at night. I mean, it's just you can't figure out. It goes to show in recruiting, I go back to recruiting. You know, they had 4 guys move on to the NBA. Not sure all 4 stuck with the NBA, but all 4 had opportunities. So it gives recruiting, when you're looking at these high school kids, to say, look, you're going to have a chance to come in and play immediately because we got all these guys going pro. You bring in tons of transfers, and they're just not playing together. And I don't see them playing as hard, the effort that they need to. They're playing more individual, their own agenda. Don't have inside presence. The Brazil kid loves to play at the 3-point line. He's their biggest kid, and he's on the draft boards, but he loves to float around the 3-point line, doesn't get in there and fight for rebounds. They have no inside presence, and they're just continually struggling. And I'm just dumbfounded because this team, I believe, was preseason like 3rd in the SEC.
Right. And you and I both know that this will create an unrest in that state that he will start to feel. I'm not saying anything bad happens because he's certainly earned the right to fix this.
Well, he's definitely spoiled their fans. I mean, he's had great success as far as, you know, who's been to the Sweet 16 the latest. It's been Arkansas consistently over any other team.
They've been really good in March.
Yes.
So here sits Georgia at 2-0. And you can say, okay, Mike White has upgraded from what he inherited when he got the job. Okay, it's pretty clear, at least early, that they're better. How much better?
Well, once again, a few transfers. How much better? They don't have what we would say a go-to star player to get a basket, but yet have a lot of complementary players that play under his system. And I want to say, George, Kentucky's on a 10-game – I'm stuck on Kentucky today. Georgia's on a 10-game winning streak.
They are. It's one of the 5 longest I think I saw in the country.
And that's surprising and good for Mike White. I mean, for him, you know, he caught a lot of beef for departing Florida when he did to go to Georgia. Makes you, you know, wonder why. What are the reasons behind it? And is Georgia a hot spot for coaches to go? A lot of high school talent in the Georgia area. You don't have. It's like football. You don't have to leave the state in basketball. If he can protect the state of Georgia, they'll really do well in the next few years.
But Mark, you and I both know that really, if you get down to it, Tubby in the what was it, mid-90s at Georgia, appeared to be the only person in that list of coaches. Mark Fox, Crean. Tubby seemed to be the only one that could penetrate that Atlanta AAU stuff.
Yeah. Well, one thing that Mike has going for him is while at Florida, a lot of connections in the South. And not to take anything away, obviously, from Tubby Smith, you know, with his Kentucky background, but you know, does he have established AAU contacts in the Georgia area, or does his assistants? If so, it'll be an easier path. If not, he's going to be working it hard in the summer because he's going to have those relationships to propel Georgia basketball to a higher level than they have in the past. I'm excited for Georgia to be as ranked as high as they are on the net, because this was the normal, you know, last several years, they're playing game in the tournament, in the SEC tournament. And now I think it'll be a really good game against Tennessee. I do see Tennessee winning this game tomorrow. Georgia doesn't have that big, dominant inside presence that we've found now that's Tennessee's big weakness. That's a mobile big man. So I think Tennessee should out-rebound Georgia by at least 10 rebounds, get to the free throw line, and I think win, I hate to say with ease, no games with ease, especially on the road. We've learned that already, George, with the top 5 programs in the country, and 4 of the 5 lost to unranked teams this week, which I'm sure you've talked about. But it'll be a battle. I just think Tennessee will come out ahead.
Okay, take me through, because you pointed it out that Tennessee in the early going of this season, a lot of good things have happened, but when bad stuff has happened, there seems to be one common theme to all of it.
Yeah, big mobile men, and I'm talking men. When you look up Zach Edey at Purdue, Hunter Dickinson at Kansas, Armando Bacot at North Carolina, Tolu Smith at Mississippi State, best big men in the SEC, which we talked about last week.
Some real studs.
What does that equate for Tennessee? Losses. Their 4 losses have come to those big individuals who are above average and are going to have a pro career. Now, the good news moving forward for Tennessee's sake, they're not going to face a Tolu Smith anytime soon that's as dominant, at least in the SEC that I can think of, George. And give Tolu Smith credit, because that was his 3rd game back, and they were talking on the air how winded he was. Well, he wasn't winded when he was on the block taking a 2-foot layup about every time he got the ball, or at the free throw line. He was pushing Adu around, and a Waka around made him look small. And give Coach Jans credit, man. He went inside to him, and then a young freshman that not many people have heard of, Josh Hubbard, just showed he may be the best freshman in the SEC not wearing Kentucky blue.
Earlier this week, we had 2 of the nation's best both go down on the same night. Iowa State pulls the upset. Their victory was a big one over Houston. And then all of a sudden, it's escaping me who the second one was. Nebraska.
We're going to talk about Nebraska.
Yes, let's do that. Let's go to the break. And then a comparison. Fred Hoiberg versus guess who? Stay tuned.
The mayor.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458, or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Mark, help me with this. Fred Hoiberg, nicknamed the Mayor, former head coach of the Chicago Bulls, was a teammate of Will Purdue's at one point, then went to his alma mater, Iowa State, where it didn't work out so well. And now he's gone on to that not-so basketball factory-esque Nebraska Cornhuskers, where he and his son are killing it.
Yeah. Wow, George, what an amazing story. I was thinking the other day, let's juxtapose the mayor, Fred Hoiberg, and Vanderbilt's Jerry Stackhouse. And there's a lot in common. Both have been with their respective programs for 5 years. Both have not made the NCAA tournament. Fred has averaged a little more than 10 wins a season, and Stackhouse going into the season a little over 12. So that's the background. Who's on thin ice now more than the other? Well, Fred Hoiberg's team shows you can turn it around. They're 13-3, 3-2 in quad one games. Vanderbilt's 5-10, and they're 0-3 in quad one games. And Nebraska has a 42 net. Vanderbilt has a 242, I believe, or 244 net. That's where it ends. Big game tonight. I'll be watching this. Nebraska's at Iowa. If they can win at Iowa, which they're not the favorite, they're going to have an inside shot at making the tournament, which I don't think the people in Music City are going to be saying the same about Coach Stackhouse.
Did you tell me that the 244 net ranking, who was the only other school of any note?
That was the trivia question, George. Well, my trivia question. There's one team.
Okay, hold on. Let's throw it and try and make Billy look like a fool.
Here we go.
One team that's lower in the net, that's a high major Division I program.
I'm going to guess I'm going to guess California.
Good guess, though, by the way.
Good guess.
Or is it Louisville now?
Now, if we'd asked this question last week, and George was right on this, we talked off the air the other day, Louisville was below Vanderbilt, but they won on the road against Miami. And that jumped Louisville's net to 233. So there is still one team out there that is below.
Man, I'm not sure. Other than Cal and Louisville, I'm not sure.
Well, if it goes on much longer, UCLA will be there.
No doubt.
God. When I said yesterday,
going to Louisville after this year, huh?
So the score last night was unbelievable. Cronin's not going to be there much longer, is he?
No. Second worst loss in the history of the program, I believe.
Well, you do have, I guess, DePaul in the Big East.
DePaul.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding,
you got it,
ding, ding. Good
291.
job. So UCLA last night, I'm looking for it here, got beat 90-44.
46.
UCLA 90-44 at Utah. You think they're going to put up with that for long?
No. Well, 6-10, something like that. 6-10.
Something like that. Cal beat them. Cal beat them at Pauley Pavilion a few nights ago. Anyway, go back on Hoiberg and Stackhouse.
Yeah, I mean that's the comparison. I mean, they're 13-3 versus Vanderbilt's 5-10. It goes to show either Nebraska didn't care about basketball, does Vanderbilt. They stuck with Hoiberg, and he has a great chance to take them to the tournament. Not an at-large, at-large bid, yes, but a great chance to be in the tournament versus where Vanderbilt is. I just thought that was a good comparison of coaches that were on that fifth year, which if you're on a fifth year and haven't made it to the NCAA tournament, you're on thin ice.
Billy, are you hitting your breaking news sounder? Mark has not heard it yet.
I'm not. You talking about Kalen DeBoer?
Yeah.
It's official. Kalen DeBoer is headed to Alabama.
Wow. Well, good for Coach. You know what? If anyone I'm happy for to get that job, he has paid his dues for what I know about him and going through what NAIA, et cetera, worked his way up long term. Congratulations to Coach.
And what are the odds that both Alabama and Tennessee have head coaches that are from South Dakota?
Wow.
Heupel's from South Dakota and DeBoer's from South Dakota.
Wow.
That is rare.
So, Mark, let's go back for a minute on the Vandy front. People long since have known my feelings that this has gotten totally out of control and should have been taken care of a while back. But 0-2 in the conference, go to Ole Miss tomorrow. Hard to imagine that they come out of there with a win.
No.
Auburn at home next Wednesday night.
Yep.
Next Saturday at Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee a week later on the 27th. At Auburn on the 31st. I mean, you're hard-pressed to project a conference win in January.
There's 5 quad one opportunities for the program, those next 5 games you talked about. All quad one opportunities.
If you beat Vandy, is Vandy a quad 4?
Yes.
Wow.
That tells you everything.
Awful. Okay, so let me take this one more place, Mark, before we end it today.
Okay.
It sure feels like a year, and I realize it's early on this, but it feels like a year where nobody is jumping out to say, if you want to win it all, you got to go through us. I thought at one point it might be Kansas, but it doesn't look like it.
No, I'll tell you a couple things about Kansas that's lacking is perimeter shooting and reserves. They're trying to get more out of DeJuan Harris than they are. Still waiting on him. They just don't have the depth. If you get McCullough in foul trouble and Dickinson, you got a great shot of beating Kansas.
It would feel like for them to make a deep run that Dickinson has got to be Godzilla.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's got to play well and stay out of foul trouble. A lot of things can happen. That's what's great about the parity of this season. Like you said, George, no one really stands out. If I have a team that if I was going to bet on to say this is the team I think is going to win the tournament, I go back to Danny Hurley. I go back to UConn. When Klingman comes back and he is, projected NBA player, has got a foot injury, with them getting more work with their reserves and rotating more players, the big kid Sampson's getting to play more. When Klingman comes back, they're going to be even better. So if you're going to get to UConn, you better get to them now. I really feel strong about UConn. And going into the tournament, they picked up a transfer from Rutgers named Spencer, just really added to the program. Stephen Castle, who's going to be an NBA first-rounder, freshman, 5-star player. They've got depth. They've got Newton that's come back. I mean, Hurley's an exciting coach to watch. Love him or hate him. I love the guy. I love his emotion. I don't think he's a me guy. I think he really fights for his players. And I think he's going to get a lot of calls. And I just think that they're a top team to look out for. Now, are they beatable on any night? Sure. I mean, Xavier had them on the ropes the other night, George.
Sure did. I saw
on the road. And it could have been 5 out of the top 5 teams losing, but it was a 5-point game.
So one thing that's become pretty obvious, the West, not nearly what it has been. UCLA, awful. Gonzaga, way down.
Yeah, they're going to drop out of the top 25 after this week.
Santa Clara beat them last night.
Right.
UCLA, Gonzaga.
Big win.
Oregon, not as good as they have been. San Diego State, which made it all the way to the final a year ago, doesn't feel like a final this time. The West
may be the best team, George. I think San Diego State may be the best team on the West Coast.
Arizona down a little bit.
Oh, Arizona. I forgot about Arizona. Arizona's best team. But
so why is that happening?
What's that?
Why is that happening?
Man, I really do think that when it comes to recruiting in the summer, players are the high school kids are up against each other, and a lot of these kids are going to SEC, Big 12, Big 10, even ACC. I just don't think what is still now the Pac-10, Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac-8, whatever it is.
Whatever in Pac-2.
I mean, Pac-2 after this year, it's just not as attractive unless you grew up a Washington State fan or an Oregon fan, or, if you're from a state and want to play with your state program. People want to go and play at the top level against top talent to be discovered and to be, in a winning program, but to play amongst their friends. You'd be shocked how many of these guys that are teammates went against each other, guarded each other, and thought, man, I'd like to play on the same team you do. And they recruit each other. It happens all the time.
Sure does. You're right about that. Hey, thank you as always. Tennessee, Georgia tomorrow, Vandy, Ole Miss, Kentucky A&M. Interesting slate.
Another good one too. Bama, Mississippi State.
Yes.
Mark Sears versus Josh Hubbard. I cannot wait to watch that because I've not seen Josh Hubbard play at Mississippi State until the other night.
What time is that one?
Oh, I don't know, George, but
it's a night. It's a night
game.
Yeah,
night game. I'll be tuned in because You got the number one scorer in the SEC, probably the SEC favorite to win Player of the Year, Mark Sears, and then a great freshman in Hubbard. I think it's going to be a great matchup because they'll be guarding each other.
Let's be watching. Mark, behave. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mark Griffin, good stuff as always on a Friday afternoon. After the break, we'll get stat of the day. We're on kind of a one-game winning streak, hoping to make it 2 in a row. Then Mark McGee will join us to talk Preds. They're in Dallas tonight, trying to make it 2 in a row at American Airlines Arena against the Stars, who were up there in the standings pretty good. Stay tuned.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Top of the hour on a Football Friday. It's time now to talk a little Preds with Mark McGee. But first, stat of the day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. You can find them out in Shelbyville. They're always wanting people to stop by. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call, 931-492-4304. All right, George, let's see what we've got from Matthew today. Tom Brady won 7 road playoff games in his career, which is tied for the most by a quarterback in NFL history with what player?
Oh, wow. Which is tied for the most by a quarterback in NFL history. Okay. Joe Montana, Steve Young are guys that played in a lot of those kind of games. With what player won 7 road playoff games? Joe Montana and Steve Young would be 2 obvious ones. Roger Staubach with the Cowboys won some big ones. I don't know if he's it. I don't know if any of these are it. I'm going to say it's one of these three. Let's just see.
It is
oh
Joe
my
Flacco.
God. I wouldn't have gotten that in a million years.
Of all people, Joe Flacco.
Good Lord.
I would have never guessed that.
Flacco had, if you think about it, Flacco had a year where they had a Hail Mary at the buzzer in Denver.
Yeah.
That was, I think, the year they got to the Super Bowl and got beat. No, I guess they won. They won the world title, beat San Fran. I think they had to win 3 road games to do it now that I think about it.
Some of his numbers are better than people think.
He had, which begs the question, okay? As crazy as it sounds, Kurt Warner is the poster child for this. If Flacco were to get another world title with this Cleveland team, does that get him in the Hall of Fame?
Whew.
On the surface, it wouldn't feel like it, but you could have said the same thing for Kurt Warner.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it, but, man, you'd have to really think hard about it if he does.
Here's the other thing. Much easier to get in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, in my opinion, than baseball.
Yeah.
Because football, in particular for a quarterback, it's almost like 2 road wins open up stuff for you that there's no way that you would get in baseball. But if you get 2 world titles as a quarterback, you got something.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Browns.
What happened to our boy Gee?
We got him on by phone.
Okay. I thought he disappeared for a minute. Looked like he tried the Gee, how are you?
I'm fine. I had erratic internet here at the office. I'm sorry about that. It was not working well. So, but I know you all are going to miss my smiling face on there, but I appreciate the effort to talk anyway. So.
Oh, I saw it earlier, and it was a smiling face. So
it was. I thought I was going to do well with it, but it just didn't work very well today. So we got to do some shifting on how you contact me, so it's going to make it a little bit easier, I think. So.
I'm going to put up some standings because all of a sudden it's all very jumbled, and I want to get you here in just a minute to analyze where we're going with this, because all of a sudden there is a big log jam. Nashville and Edmonton are both tied, if you want to call it, the 7 and the 8 seeds at 45 points each. Billy, if you will, when you get a chance, go ahead and put that back up there. Here we go. Seattle has now gotten there.
45.
Yeah, has gotten there as well. And then you've got St. Louis and Calgary at 43, Arizona at 42, and then Minnesota down at 38 points. Now, help me with this. The conventional wisdom in the NHL says 7 of the 8 spots are already taken because most people in the league believe that Edmonton is going to continue to roll and that they're going to be in that top 7. And I'm guessing you agree with that.
I do, but I also think the Kraken all of a sudden has turned around. They've won – Edmonton's won 9 in a row, and the Kraken have won 8 in a row. So the Kraken have awakened. They come out of the deep ocean out in the Pacific there, and they're ready to attack again. So, but I was going to see what happens with them. It's like I said, it's a very jumbled up situation right now. It really is. The Kings, they've lost 7 in a row. They're right there in third at 48 in the Pacific, but they're not doing that well right now. They're having they're struggling. Nobody really knows what's happening with them this time. They've had some injury issues, I think, but they've become a little bit of a question mark right now. So who knows where they're going to play themselves out of a top 4 spot or not, especially with the Oilers and the Kraken making their big pushes at this time.
So realistically, the Predators have got to beat out about 5 other teams to get either that 7th or 8th spot.
I don't think the Blues are a problem. I think the Blues have struggled most of the year, and I don't see them really rallying to get a 8 or 9 game in a row win streak going. The Coyotes, who knows about the Coyotes? They've exceeded all expectations, and a lot of people are really shocked at how they're doing, and so they could pop back up here, I guess. But I would be more worried about the Coyotes right now than the Blues as far as the Predators are concerned. But you beat the Stars tonight. You beat the Stars tonight. You've got 47 points, and the Stars are still at 53, and you got the Islanders coming in Saturday, only back-to-back of the month. And the Islanders are right there in the top 3 in the Metropolitan Division right now, and they're fighting for every win they can get because they want to be as high up as they can. So it's 2 challenging games back-to-back for them. So, but there's a chance to trim some points down there, add some points here. But it's a messy league this year. It's hard to really say who's dominating. Like I said, everybody says there's 7 teams, definitely. I mean, look at Winnipeg. Winnipeg's come out not really out of nowhere. They've won 8 in a row. They're about 60 points now. They're above Avalanche. The Avalanche and above the Stars. So I thought Winnipeg might be a 3rd or 4th place team in the division the way they were playing, but they put it all together. They're a great goaltender, and that shows up from that standpoint as well. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to go down the wire, especially for that 8th spot. I think it's going to be a real challenge. Predators can't afford to go on a really long losing streak, that's for sure.
Let's go to the elephant in the room with the Preds, and that is UC Saros, who a year ago I thought was as good a goaltender for an extended period of time, good 3 to 4 months, as there was in the league. Right now, he is scuffling, and that is being kind. Guy, in your opinion, what do you think is going on, and how do they get him back on track?
Well, I think one thing is the defensive units in front of him have to be playing better. They're not giving him a lot of breaks from that standpoint. Everybody points at Saros when they win. They point at Saros a lot of time, more times when they lose. And I don't think necessarily it's Saros all the time. He's made some really world-class saves this year. And when he plays the top of his game, he's one of the top goalies in the league. But he's really struggled, and I think a lot of it has to do with the consistency of this team in a couple of ways. The consistency of the way this team is playing, especially in first periods, and also the consistency of this defense. Defense has always been strong, but you've got to, but this year it's been a little bit questionable. They're allowing a lot of giveaways, takeaway. They have a lot of giveaways this year, and I think that's opened up a lot of opportunities for the opposition against Saros. So I think that maybe that has a little bit to do with it. Against the Ducks, I mean, 3 of the goals were by deflections, and that, so you have kind of give him a little bit of a break on that from that standpoint. But I don't think he's. I don't think it's a mental thing. I don't think it's a physical thing, as far as I can tell, or I've heard. But I just think he's hit a slump to some extent, and everybody does that, and the goalies will do that. He's hit a slump right now, and he's just got to play his way out of it.
So do you see them going to Lankinen more, or saying, look, he's it, he's the horse we got to ride for the most part?
That's a question a lot of teams are asking themselves right now. Do they go, especially those teams that are in the playoff hunt and on the edge of maybe of the playoff hunt? How often do you play your number 1 goaltender? A lot of teams are looking at that question right now. I think that Lankinen is 5-3, I believe, and so he's not played badly. I don't have a problem playing him. Of course, he'll probably play one of these games. I don't know who's starting tonight against Dallas, but he'll play one of the 2 games this weekend, I'm sure. And but I think they have to look at Saros. Maybe, I don't know, if he has another bad game, I think you have to say, okay, we're going to put Lankinen in for a while till you get everything straightened out. I think maybe that'll perk him up a little bit. Playing time makes a big difference for teams. And they've got a pretty tough schedule. I mean, they got the Stars tonight on the road, the Islanders at home tomorrow. Then they've got the Vegas Knights, and they got the Kings. So it's the next 4 games, counting tonight, are not going to be easy ones for them. So this is a chance for Searles to either shine or fall back. And, I think if he falls back, I think then Lycan becomes your guy. And maybe, worst comes to worst, they bring Askarov down. He played a good game last time out, and maybe they bring him down. He's an all-star in the AHL this past week, and maybe a chance to give him a chance to see what he can do on a long-term basis. It all comes down to just how close they are to the playoff situation. One thing nobody's really looked at, they're only 1 point better today than they were last year. So that's something to look at as well. So, but it's going to be interesting to see what goes on the next 4 games. These 4 games can really tell a big tale for them. If they can come out of these, with a winning record, that's something they can play off of. But I think that the big thing is consistency with this team. Searles is part of that. I mean, lack of consistency, and Searles is right there with that bunch. Lack of consistency from that standpoint.
Okay, here's the head scratcher part of this. So they've had 2 road wins in the last 3 weeks that indicate there is something pretty good here. They go to Carolina, get an overtime win. They go to Dallas a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was a week ago, and get a road win. By the way, the schedule's nuts. Why do you have to go to Dallas twice in 7 days? I don't get it, but whatever. And so you've had road wins that tell you, man, there's something here to like. But then you've got 3 stinkers at home. A Calgary blowout, the blowout against Anaheim where they appeared to have no juice whatsoever early. So you know that Andrew Brunette is trying to figure this out. What answers do you think he's coming up with?
He says he doesn't have one right now. Basically, he's saying he's I think he's as baffled as anybody, which is not good as a coach. I mean, you have to be coming up with some reasons why this is happening. And he's basically said that he doesn't really understand what's happening to some extent with them. Why they're not. I think it goes back to maybe going back to your veteran players like a Forsberg or a Yossi to wake this team up in the locker room and say, hey guys, we got a chance. When they play well, like you're talking about in the Dallas game, and the Hurricanes game, and they play well, they're a top 3 team in the division. When they play poorly, they're definitely not. But they have potential to be a top 3 team in the division if they play at the top of their game. It's hard. I mean, a lot of this is you got a lot of young players in this team. You got a whole new philosophy about how to play the game. And you got some players some of these young players, the season's already starting to tell them a little bit. Luke Evangelista's a rookie, some top 10 scoring, but I think he's showing a little bit like, we got 40 more games left. So I think, that some of that's going to show up a little bit as well. So one thing about them though, is they really, knock on wood, the injury bug has not bothered them as much as it has a lot of teams. Tyson Berry is day-to-day. He's about the only one out right now. Cody Glass has never come back from his injury situation. But for the most part, injury-wise, they've been pretty safe as far as, and against with other teams, especially, they've done well as far as the number of injuries they have. So that should be a plus, right now. But I think Andrew Burnett is searching for answers as well as we are, and that's not good. Coaches need to come up with what's going on from that standpoint. Keeping that, you got to play. He said since the beginning of the season they don't play 60 minutes a lot, and that's showing up. They're not really playing the first 20 minutes very well, and that's really killing them.
Is there something in Brunette's system that has allowed Philip Forsberg to completely realize his potential? Because that's what's going on right now.
He's becoming a superstar, and I think they're getting a lot. This offensive way set up, they're getting a lot more chances to score. They're getting a lot more chances. You got to shoot the goal to score. They haven't finished as well as they should based on the percentage of shots they've had on goal. But I think that open offense has made a big difference for him. Plus, I think you've got Nyquist, who has a surprising season. He's already surpassed his points for last year, and you've got Raleigh. And those 3 have got some great chemistry, and they're staying together. And that's made a big difference as well. When you got chemistry and with your player, with your teammates, line mates, it makes a big difference. And yeah, this is everything coming together for him from that standpoint. The style of play, this allowing more shots, allowed them to have more of an open offense. And in fact, he's got two good players on the same line with him who give him a lot of confidence.
So I don't know the date of the trade deadline. Don't pretend to. You probably can rattle it off like that. But when we get close to it, what do you think Barry Trotz is thinking?
Well, it's interesting from that standpoint because you look at it, you look ahead a little bit, and, where are you? Coming close to the trade deadline. This is Barry Trotz's first as a general manager. What is on his mind? He's got about $8 million to play with right now, cap-wise. You go spend money on one big-time player, to help you out, maybe, to get you that 8th spot or 7th spot, maybe, or do you go for more of a depth player and possibly add, and save a little money from that standpoint, save it for later, or do you trade a couple of guys and just go from there? I mean, I don't, you're going to be a buyer or seller. I don't think they go out and sell anybody necessarily. Saros is always going to be popping up now for some reason. Well, as far as the trade situation goes, because good goalies are hard to find. But, they could go a lot of different directions with this. I think it's all going to be based on where they are in February when the deadline comes up. It's like, what do you do from that standpoint? So it's a couple months from now to make that decision. So, but he's got some options, and so we'll see what he wants to do. So you want to go all in and go after one big player that's going to make a difference, hopefully, for the team the rest of the way through, or do you look for depth? What do you do? And I think that's a question that nobody really knows the answer to except Barry right now.
Well, we'll try to get him a win tonight in Dallas. Thank you for taking the time to come on here. I'm sure we'll talk again next week. Behave until then.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thank you, George. Have a good weekend.
See you, Mark. You too.
All right.
Mark McGee joining us for his weekly discussion of the Preds. Billy, if you can figure them out, more power to you.
Yeah, George, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned they beat the Canes on the road. They've had some really good wins, and then they kind of put up a stinker against the Ducks,
that was very disappointing.
This is where the Ducks are, 29 points. I put them up there because I want an odd number, not because they're in the race. They're not in the race. So, that's the thing about the NHL. You never know. I mean, you got to come to play every night, and that's what the Preds have to figure out. They need to come to play. They got to be more consistent, like Guy said. And, I like how Guy said, when they win, it's on Saros. When they lose, it's also on Saros. So he's too much of their team right now. They need to take a little bit off his chest.
By the way, I'm looking at a weather forecast up here. If you're watching us live, it sounds like Sunday night, Monday morning could be really dicey.
Sunday night now. Okay.
Late Sunday night, early Monday morning.
Buckle up.
Buttercup.
Yeah.
After the break, Billy, you and I are going to wade through the NFL playoffs through the plaster bets of the weekend. I'll start by saying this. This weekend feels really hard to me. Stay with us. The George Plaster Show is Nashville's best sports talk, 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There's a podcast version available on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to donleytimmons.com.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
Final segment on a football Friday. Super Wild Card Weekend starts tomorrow. We'll give our picks coming up with Plaster's Bets of the Weekend, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. Before the picks for this weekend, let's rehash last night.
Oh, yeah.
Utah.
UCLA. Awful.
Utah walloped them.
Ugh. Beat them by 46.
That's weird seeing UCLA this bad.
Yeah, they are. And it does feel like there will be a coaching change in some form or fashion at the end of the year there.
In the near future, yes.
Yeah. So this weekend in what is now called Super Wild Card Weekend, it's different than it used to be because we now have 14 NFL teams that get in the playoffs, and 12 of them have to play in the first weekend. The ones get buys. And if you remember, the Titans were a 1 2 years ago and got the bye to then take on Cincinnati. Cincinnati had beaten Rich Bisaccia's Raiders.
Yeah.
How about that?
Forgot about that.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm getting at is your 2 7s, your 3 6s, your 4 5s. That's the way it plays out.
Yep.
And it's got some weird, sorry about that, it's got some weird feel to it. Let me give you a for instance. The first game that I've got on here is that one. I'm going with Cleveland, and yet I don't feel very solid about it. Cleveland, about 3 weeks ago, went to Houston and won by, I want to say, like 20 plus.
36-22.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So Houston scored a couple of touchdowns late to make it fairly respectable, but they got the crap kicked out of them. Well, now there's C.J. Stroud, and he's really good.
Yep.
But so is Cleveland's defense. And even though I may live to regret this, I'm going Cleveland on that defense of Jim Schwartz's. But it's not going to be easy when you go on the road.
Yeah, their defense is too good. I think their defense and Flacco's experience in the playoffs, I think, will help close out that game for them.
So, on the uneasy meter, I'm very queasy about this one. If you think I'm queasy about this one, check out the next one. I'm even queasier. In the regular season, Miami has just flat out been the better team. By virtue of Miami's 3-game losing streak at the end, they did not end up being the division winner, but instead are the wild card 6 seed against a division winner, Kansas City, who wasn't anywhere near as good as the Kansas City we're used to. Mahomes has been frustrated. His receivers drop balls constantly. They have never looked really in sync. So now we take all of those factors and Arrowhead Stadium and then combine this weather knowledge.
Yeah.
Something like 0 with 30-mile-per-hour winds, which creates, to me, an unsafe wind chill factor. The NFL couldn't care less. Until somebody dies on one of these fields, they're going to err on the side of protect our network partners.
Yeah.
So, what do I think happens here that has me believing that Kansas City wins? It is, number one, they're way more used to some of this.
Yeah.
Miami, their past history indicates when they get in really cold weather, they go south. Now, you might say, well, that's unfair because this group has never really experienced that. And that's a legitimate point, which makes it even harder to figure out where you're going. If it's 30-mile-per-hour winds, does this eliminate Miami's ability to go long with Tyreek Hill? You would tend to think so. Does this cold affect Miami more than it does Kansas City? Based on what I'm taking there, I'm saying the answer is yes. If it's short passing game, and that's really all this weather will allow, it's Mahomes, Kelsey over whatever Miami counters with. That's what I'm saying.
The weather's not on the Dolphins' side, and nor is the history. The Dolphins haven't won a playoff game since 2000, and I can't pick against Cincinnati or Kansas City. I mean, at home in the playoffs. I'm going KC.
Now, here is for me the best bet of the weekend. Buffalo in all of these elements in a 2-team teaser. Tease them down to -4 against the Steelers and hope to goodness that Pittsburgh isn't able to control the game with their rushing attack. If Buffalo does a halfway decent job against Pittsburgh's run, that ought to work. And then we go down south to Dallas. Dallas at home this year has been a Godzilla.
Yeah.
On the road, not so good. But at home, they've been really good. So it was vitally important that they get the 2 seed, which they got. Green Bay with Jordan Love, been really good in the second half of the season. Do I think they can go to Dallas and win? Not really. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I agree.
And then we go to Sunday night. I know I hear people say the Rams are the most dangerous team going in the second half of the season. I hear it. You hear it. But I just think this is Detroit's time.
Yeah, they are hosting a playoff game for the first time in 30 years.
The last time they hosted, I believe I'm right, they beat the Dallas Cowboys 38-6.
Wow. I mean, that building is going to be rocking.
Yeah.
I think they're going to feed off that energy. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game, George. I do think the Lions win it. There's going to be some pressure on Jerod Goff, though. I mean, if he's not going to really hear much of the end of it if he doesn't win this one at home against his old team. Meanwhile, you got Stafford on the other side going back home, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I'm sure that'll be emotional, and I'm sure the Detroit people will give him a really nice ovation because, man, he took a lot of abuse from a bad offensive line. He got beat all to hell.
He did.
In Detroit. To me, here's what this gets down to. For Detroit, for this to be as special a year as they think it is and want it to be, they can't lose the home game to the Rams. They just simply can't.
No, you can't. They're better than the Rams. Their defense is better. The Rams are kind of scary, though. I think this is kind of a scary matchup for the Lions. You're going up against McVay, Dan Campbell. It's time for him to get this done. I can't wait.
That's where I'm going with it. I will tell you that I think next weekend's games, where we get Baltimore as a 1 seed and San Francisco as a 1 seed, I think you'll be able to tell a lot easier where it's all going than you do in this. And here's where I'm going with that. You've got some scenarios where the 5 seed, Cleveland, feels better than the 4 seed. Okay, if Philadelphia had not died at the end, Tampa as a 4 seed wouldn't feel as good as either Dallas or Philly.
Yeah.
And so you've got some weird stuff where the home field doesn't necessarily say better team. Next weekend, home field means better team.
Yes. That's the weird part about this weekend. So that's why you do get some upsets here or there. I don't know how many upsets we'll see. I do think that Tampa's got a great shot to beat a Philly team on Monday night that is kind of reeling with some ego issues and maybe even some coaching issues. I'm excited for that one.
Well, and it sounds like all of a sudden they've got the issue of Jalen Hurts. Really? All of a sudden, supposedly over the last few days, he's got a thumb issue where he can't grip the football.
I didn't know that.
And so, not that I believe this is going to happen, but there is a chance that Philly's going to have to start Marcus Mariota.
You don't want that.
No. Okay. Good week, crazy week, one big bomb after another. Vrabel fired. Saban retires. Belichick pushed out. Crazy.
Unreal.
Never seen anything like it.
All in the same week.
In all the years that I have done this, I can't think of a week where we've had 3 big bombs like this.
Unbelievable. I can't either, and I'm a lot younger.
And now we think that it looks like Kalen DeBoer has taken the Alabama job.
Yeah,
I'll be interested
it's
over
official.
the weekend at the reaction to that.
That'll be real interesting.
Because there does seem to have been a rush to get just somebody to take it.
Yeah.
Had they called me, I might have been available. All of you have a great weekend. Look, we don't know what's going to happen on Sunday night, Monday. It appears it's going to get hairy. Already, we've got these big old wind gusts. If you're watching live, over 30 miles per hour. Drive safely this weekend. Sunday night, Monday is going to get hairy. Be careful. We'll see you Monday.